Hey guys, flying solo again for the Rifftrax live Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Originally it was supposed to be me and Sarah at this, but like Brian had completely forgotten that it was that it was one of his friends' birthday parties that was going on. So he was at that, and at the last minute, I text Sarah and I'm like, I am so sorry to ask this. Is there I can make it up to you. Is there any way you could possibly go see Black Nativity with Dave tonight? If there's an encore of Rifftrax Live, which there usually is, I promise I will take you to it. She writes back and goes, oh no, that's fine. I actually really want to see Black Nativity. And then it was, well, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. And really? And they just shot their video for it, which I was in the back seat for like a half hour ago, so she might kind of regret that. So Rifftrax, this will be something interesting to talk about. Sitting here talking about a Rifftrax that, depending on whether or not they do an encore of it, you might not get to see again, but here I am talking about what you missed. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. It was a lot of fun seeing it, and it was interesting too in that, one of my Christmas traditions, I guess, I mean, in that every Christmas Eve, when I lay down, I put this on. I put on the Mystery Science Theater Santa Claus Conquers the Martians episode. I've got some drinks there, the movie on, laying down on the couch or wherever, and then I end up falling asleep. It's what I do like every year on Christmas Eve. Get up the next day, go to the family's place, and go home, or I go out drinking with the guys or whatever. So it was fun seeing a new riff of that. And I know that Cinematic Titanic did one that was really funny of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, and hell, there was a Rifftrax live on Manos. What's kind of fun about seeing that is when you've seen a particular episode so many times, like I have with Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, you can kind of, this also goes to if you're watching a movie unriffed that has been on Mystery Science Theater. Like, you like Manos, Pod People. I've watched Pod People unriffed. Hell, the other day I watched the Blu-ray of Incredible Melting Man. And it is kind of funny. It is kind of funny if you're watching one of them unriffed, you can still kind of hear the jokes in your head, if you've seen it a number of times. And Mitchell was one that I watched uncut too, which Mitchell uncut, I actually dig because it's from like the theatrical source of it. If you watch it uncut, it's the theatrical version of it, not the edited TV cut that is also edited for the Mystery Science Theater cut. And it's funny when you watch Mitchell uncut like that, the plot actually makes a lot more sense. I mean, not that it's still not the greatest movie in the world, but I mean, the plot is relatively cohesive when you see the full version of it. Like, there's a whole, like, dune buggy chase with John Saxon that explains his character's disappearance. There's a part with Mitchell killing a guy by slamming his head in a car door. And if you thought the love scene in the Mystery Science Theater version was kind of oft-putting, the uncut version has her just fucking going down on him. Like, it's even longer. The love scene is even fucking longer in the uncut one. So, and now watching the Rifftrax live, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, it was funny, like, when you'd come across some parts, like, you'd be sitting there and you'd be like, oh, this is where the lentils joke usually is, or why you've been crying, so things like that, or when, the Mrs. Claus, this is the part where they usually have her singing Ed Sullivan, so that part's usually, because you even watching a re-riff of it, you can still kind of hear the old one in your head a little bit, but it's not, like, distracting, it's just, it'll happen if you've seen the other episode, numerous times, and I got to imagine that it would be interesting to find out how difficult that is to re-riff something that you've already done. Like, was it hard for these guys to watch it again and come up with newer material, newer jokes for it? Did they have to watch the older one again, or any of the pre-riffs for it to kind of remember what they joked about and what they said and make sure that they don't really repeat a lot of the same things. Because, like, I guess, I mean, you could go either way on that. Like, if I, for instance, I mean, granted, like, Mystery Science Theater and Rifftrax comes up with a million more jokes than I do, like, on a Snob episode, but I think about it, I'm like, I barely remember what jokes I put in there after an episode has been out for a couple weeks, because I'm constantly writing new episodes, and there's enough of them in a 20-minute episode anyway. If I was to do, like, write, I mean, I wouldn't do this, but if I was to write another episode of, like, Chatterbox, I barely remember any of the jokes from the episode of mine I did. If I sat down and rewrote an episode on Chatterbox, most of the jokes probably wouldn't be the same. I mean, maybe some of the more obvious ones, but maybe not a lot. But I would still go through, and I would still probably watch it again just to make sure I didn't really copy anything. I mean, not that I would do that. That would be completely, in terms of my show, that would be completely pointless. There's plenty more talking vagina movies to fucking choose from. Why that one? I've probably got some more that I've never seen. There's the talking dick movies like Me and Him, and the movie that's a remake of, because the talking vagina movie's a goddamn remake. The talking dick movie might as well be a fucking remake too. What the hell? There's also the Talking Ass movie, Lulu's Talking Ass, the Jess Franco one. I've got a copy of that, and I have a copy of it without subtitles. And sometimes I can go through, like, sometimes I can do, like, an episode without any subtitles or anything like that. Like Italian Batman, or Turkish I Spit on Your Grave, you know, stuff like that's easy to... But it's something like Lulu's Talking Ass, where the humor would be very dependent on what the ass is saying. It's a little hard without subtitles. And plus, I've sat down and watched this fucking movie. It's mostly fucking. And its ass just kind of says something every now and then. It's Lena Romay, so it's a fantastic ass. So there's that. Anyway, that was a tangent. So the theater was packed, and it's really fun seeing something like riffs aside, it's fun seeing something like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians on the big screen, especially in that seeing parts of it that were cut from the Mystery Science Theater one. Same with Incredible Melting Man when I watched that today, and another thing, like fucking Manos, where the scene where the Master's slapping around the guy's wife, or you want to see some uncut shit from Mystery Science Theater, watch the deleted scenes of the Side Hackers. Wow. Yeah, look up the copy of that movie that's called Five the Hard Way. That's the uncut title for it. Watch that. Yeah, it gets death wishy in the second half. So it made me, sitting there watching that, it made me sit there and think, like, I wonder how many people... It would be really cool to hear from somebody who actually saw this movie first run in the theater and what they thought of it. And where was it? Where did this show? I mean, the drive-in, I guess, but anyone who's watching this, honestly, like, if you were there when this was screened somewhere, first run, tell me about it. What kind of experience was that like? I love bad movies. I love them to death. I can watch them riffed. I can watch them unriffed. With that being said, there are several unwatchable bad films. Watching Nuki was not a good experience. But something like this, where it's just jaw-dropping on how it got fucking made in the first place. This is just wildly bizarre and acted and performed so genuine, you know? Like, that's my favorite kind of bad movie. And I can watch a bad film that's, like, intentionally bad. Like, I can watch Sharknado. I can watch an Asylum movie and stuff like that. I'm not really one of those who's like, no, it's got to be genuinely bad. Like, granted, those movies like this, like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, movies like this are my favorite kind of bad movie. I think it's probably most people's favorite kind of bad movie, where it's where there's a certain level of genuineness to it, where they in a much different way than if you're talking about like Ghost Shark or something like that. Even though those movies can be fun to watch too, as long as they're entertaining. But when it's just like so proper like this, so like not quite so intentional, that's when you get some really beautiful shit. And it's just jaw-droppingly awesome. Like, even without the riffs, I'm sitting there like, how in the flying fuck did this movie get made? That's actually a really good podcast too. There's a podcast that Paul Scheer does called How Did This Get Made? That's very, very funny. Listen to the Sleepaway Camp one. It's very, 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 very funny. There was a short beforehand. I forget the name of it. But that was really good. I hadn't seen this Christmas short before. It was like an ice fairy dancing through like Santa's workshop that's made of like 7 toys, but they're just humans in costumes, and she's bringing them to life with her wand, and they're all horrifying. One of them is this is a running gag through it. It's Candy Lion, who's a guy in a lion costume that looks even more terrifying than the fucking costume dude at the end of The Shining. Like, it looks like it's a suit of a lion, but with a face like that horrifying, creepy Easter Bunny picture with the fang teeth and shit. Look up creepy Easter Bunny. Look for the one with the fang teeth. Granted, I think it might be Photoshop, but it's still creepy. It looks like they photographed like fucking Satan's rabbits on Santa Claus's body. This fucking picture, but anyway, the Candy Lion, he likes candy, and Santa Claus is just really like, he's like a manic depressive in this. He's like sad. He's really different. Looking at it, looks like they got Tom Noonan to play Santa Claus, like, but he's still like in Manhunter mode. It's weird, and he's like 10 feet tall. It's fucking surreal. Like, I'm sitting there like, man, at first I was sort of like, why don't we get a lot of this shit anymore? Like, really fucked up kind of educational films, short subjects like this. But we still do. we still do. If you've ever worked anywhere and went through any kind of screening process, there still are educational films like this. When I was in high school, there were still educational films that we watched. I guess they're just, I don't know, I guess they're just not as obviously outdated, of course, but weirdly morbid, I guess, even though I still saw some when I was when I had some different jobs. Like, any like sexual harassment video that you have to watch at any place of employment is gonna have some weirdness to it. Like, there was one that I watched when I worked at a newspaper, and it was 2 girls. They were probably in their 20s, 30s maybe, and they were their desks were like facing each other, and one girl is saying like, wow, I keep getting these weird anonymous emails. Someone keeps sending me these emails talking about how hot I am, how sexy I am, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is really weird. And the other girl across from her is like, so, are you going to ask this person out? They might be really cool. And then the other girl is like, no, this person's a creep. I'm going to report them. And then the twist is that the girl across from her is the one sending them because she really wanted to bang the other girl, and then she got really malicious about it. Like, she was kind of stalking her and shit. Like, there was a couple people in the room with me. I leaned back, I'm like, this one's got a fucking twist. What the shit? Like, I'm watching a fucking Shannon Weary film all of a sudden. Like, did they just throw in one of the goddamn Mirror Images movie? What are they showing us? There was a safety video I had to watch one time when I worked at the video store that was a spoof of the Jackass episodes, and it was called Knuckleheads. And one of them was like the Johnny Knoxville equivalent is they're teaching how to properly open a box with a razor blade, but then he's wacky about it and accidentally like just slices his hand open. Which, of course, was on every Jackass episode. They just sliced their hands open with razor blades. Oh, yeah, I distinctly remember that. Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville, and this is Slice Your Own Wrists. So, of course, I had a lot of fun at this. It was a packed house. Everyone had a good time. It's They did it in front of a live audience in Tennessee, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. They said at the beginning of it, and it was funny when they were at the beginning of it talking about how many times they've seen it, and Mike Nelson said between the three of them they've seen this movie like 11 million times, and I believe it. I don't believe that to be an over-exaggeration, because to do more than one riff on this and so many jokes and watching it so many times, holy crap, they probably know this film front end to back end more than the fucking filmmakers and actors do. And it was, with it being live, it was funny seeing whenever like a flub would happen, which happened like twice. Like Bill Corbett a couple times. One time he got like kind of tongue-tied, and the other was he meant to say the first season of Lost, but he accidentally said the last season of Lost when there was a Hatch joke. So it was funny seeing him play off of that. That was good. I mean, these are guys that are the best at what they do. The whole group, the whole group, whether we're talking about the Rifftrax people or the cinematic Titanic. I mean, combined, these guys are the best, and without them, I mean, God, me, a lot of us wouldn't be doing what we do for a living. That's for damn certain. Being a kid and watching Mystery Science Theater, I couldn't imagine that like one day, one day I'm gonna be 30 years old and I'm gonna be watching bad movies for a living. But I do, and it's kind of awesome, actually. When you sit around watching, whether it's Santa Claus Conquers the Martians or me sitting there watching goddamn Let My Puppets Come, I'm like, this is my day at work. Let my puppets come. 40 minutes, the 40-minute version, nonetheless. Yeah, I think that's about all I got for it. I knew I was gonna have a good time. I did have a good time. I had a blast doing this. I had a blast watching it, going to it, and I'll probably fall asleep watching something. Really, honestly, that is like my nightly tradition, period. Like, I wind down for the evening, brush my teeth, feed the kitties, I lay on the couch, I got the laptop up there, I put Craig Ferguson on the TV, I watch the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, then that ends, and I put in my Mystery Science Theater disc, and that's typically what I fall asleep to about every night. Still do. Been doing that for a lot of years. I can't even remember what the first episode of Mystery Science Theater was I even saw. Like, it was around when it first started on Comedy Central, Comedy Channel at the time. And I just remember seeing the silhouettes on the bottom and kind of being like, what the fuck is that? Are they just watching a movie? What the fuck? And then when I sat down to actually watch it, back then they showed it all the time. They showed it all the time. So one day I'm sitting there like, what the fuck is this? They're watching a movie? And then a couple days later, a week or so later, whatever, I sat down and watched a whole episode, and I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what it was because they showed it so much then that when I saw the first episode, there had to have been like several fucking other ones that I would watch after that. It had to have been. They were still doing like Mystery Science Theater Hour, like around then. It would have been a second or third season episode, because like it was within the first couple. It was within the first couple of Comedy Channel seasons that I started watching it. So that's all I got. They didn't do a, as you'll see from another video on here that's in the daylight, they didn't give us a pre-screening of Out of the Furnace, probably because of the Rifftrax screening. So Dave and I are going to go see Out of the Furnace tomorrow morning, which that video should be right up there. And then next week is The Hobbit at midnight, literally at midnight this time. I'm not going to get home until dawn. And then Medea. And also fucking Medea. I really, really hope that Medea is also being screened that night, because if it's not, that means I gotta go see fucking long-ass Hobbit and get home at like 4 in the goddamn morning, and then wake up in the morning to go see goddamn fucking Medea. Whatever. I got my Rifftrax in. If they do an encore of Rifftrax Live, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, go see it. Totally do. I mean, the feature itself is fun to sit through again, especially the new jokes that I laughed a lot throughout this. The new jokes work great, and even the short at the beginning that was like it started out like Mr. Be Natural and just turned into like Satan's Ballroom. It was just bizarre and creepy and just awesome. So there weren't any trailers in front of it. It did like fake like trivia at the beginning on different things. There weren't any trailers or anything. It just 7 o'clock rolled around. They went right into it. That's all I got, and I'll be back. I don't know why I'm saying I'll be back. The videos are right up there under the furnace. That's it right there. And I'll be back this week with Snob episode, the random button, and more goodness. See ya.